Hello and welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a custom upload button using React.js. We are going to style it using Tailwind CSS. As you can see on the right hand side, I have this default input HTML tag takes an attribute of type file and we can use this to upload files from our computer. But these default HTML elements are not fully customizable, and by that I mean we cannot style them fully. Today I'm going to show you how to create a custom upload button in React.js. So let's get started. So as you can see on the right hand side, you can see I have a components folder here. I'm going to click on that and create a new file. Name it custom upload button.tsx. I'm going to use RFCE to get this boilerplate. This is a VS Code extension. I'm going to save this and I'm going to render this component in this page.tsx file. As you can see, I have a Next.js project set up here. So the component we are going to build will work both on Next.js and React. So I'm going to import this component here in the page.tsx file. If you have a React project setup, you can use this component in your app.js or index.js file. So let me import this component, custom upload button. Let me save it, and on the right hand side you can see the text appear custom upload button. That is the text, default text here. So let me erase this text, and inside this let me use this default HTML input tag. Let me give it an attribute of type equal to file. So on the right side you can see the choose file button has appeared. Now let me wrap this input in another div, and let me give this outer div a class name of width of full, height full, so that it will take the entire width and height of this viewport. Let me make it a flex container and give it items center, justify center, and as you can see the contents inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this default HTML input type. I'm going to hide it under a custom, and when I click on that button, I want this window to appear after that. So let us see how to do that. What I'm going to do is I have this div. Let me give this div a border to visualize where this div is on the right hand side of the screen, and we're going to style it. Let me give this a border of white for now. Border white. Let me save this. As you can see, the input lies inside this div and the border has appeared here. So inside this div I'm going to create another div, and let me give this a class name, and on this parent div, the div that we gave the border to, I'm going to give a position of relative, and inside this div I'm going to give a position of absolute and a background color of red 500. Let me save it. You can see nothing happened on the right hand side, but if I give this div an inset of 0 and save it, and also give it a z index of 10. Okay, I have given let me correct the spelling here, absolute. Okay, now you can see the red background appear. So what I did here is I created this div that has this white border, and inside this I have put this input of type file, and I have created another div and given it a position of absolute, and I have set a property of inset. What inset 0 does is it gives the positions left, top, right, and 0 and bottom of 0 to this element, so that it takes the entire width and height of its parent container. And I have also given it a z index of 10, so it pops above this input of type file, and I have given it a background so that this input file type is not visible. But if I click on the div now, you can see nothing. Click is not propagated towards this input, and that is this default HTML input. So now what I want to do is whenever I click on this div that is this red background, I want that upload file window to open. How to do that? So let's add an on-click event listener to this div, and let me change its name to button, because we are going to add an event listener on this, so it's fair to name this component as a button. Now let me add an on-click listener on this button, and upon clicking on this button I want to do something. So let me create an arrow function. Let me give this a name of handle click. This is going to be an arrow function, and it will take an event that's going to be a react.mouse event. Let's connect it to this handle click function and handle click. Let me save it. As I'm using Next.js, I have to make this component a client component because I'm using an listener, because I'm adding an event listener. Let me save it. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a reference using the useRef hook for this input element. Let me create a ref const. Let me name this upload input ref equals. I'm going to add this to avoid TypeScript errors. Let me save it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a ref attribute to this input field and I'm going to set it to upload input ref. Now what I'm going to do is inside this handle click function, I'm going to see if upload input ref dot and access its current property. What this does is it checks if upload input ref dot current is not equal to null. If it's null, it'll not enter this block. But if it's not null, then what we are going to do, we're going to get hold of this upload input, that is this input element in the DOM. We are going to access its current property, and on that we're going to simulate that click that we wanted. Let me save it. Now let me click on this button. Now you can see when I click on this button, the select file window opened. Now let us style this component and add a few functionalities that are needed. So for now, let us add a text inside this button. You can say upload. Let me erase this. I'm going to add the text inside a span because I'm going to add an icon inside the button as well. And inside this, I'm going to use an icon. You can use the image tag to add the icon, but I'm going to use this library called Lucid React. I'm going to use cloud icon from there, cloud, and inside the span I'm going to write upload. Let me save it. As you can see, the text has appeared here. Let me style the content inside this button. Let me make this container a flex container. Items center, justify center, and a gap of 4 between the text and the icon. Let me give this a padding y of 4 and padding x of 4 as well. Sorry, I have to give the padding to this container. Let me also give it a border radius. Let's say rounded to XL. Let me save it. Also an overflow of hidden. Let's get rid of this white border for now. I'm going to give text white to the button component so that the text inside the component button component appears white. Let me give class name to the text separately. Let me give this a text of 2XL. Also let me style this icon a bit. Let me give this a size of 8. Now it looks good. And let's change the background to some gradient. I have created a nice gradient. Let me copy and paste that. As you can see, the button looks good now. As you can see, the button is working now. What I want to do is whenever I select a file, let me select a file first. Let me choose this file. As you can see, I have selected the file, but we are not able to see the uploaded file or the name of the uploaded as we used to see in that default HTML input tag. Now in order to create that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a separate div below this div. That's this entire thing. I'm going to create a separate div. I'm going to give it a class name. Let's not style it for now. Inside this div, we're going to render file name, but we don't have the file name variable. So let's create a state in which we're going to set this file name. So we're going to do that using use state hook. So let's create a state const file name, and a set of function set file name equals use state. I'm going to add this type this state so that TypeScript won't throw errors because initially the state is going to be null. So let me paste it here. So the value inside this file name is either going to be null or a string. Let me save this and now let me give this a class name. I'm going to give this a background of white, padding y of 1, padding x of 1, a rounded of medium. Let me save it. As you can see, a small dot has appeared on the right hand side, but I want it below this button, below our custom button. So what I'm going to do is inside this container, the main container, I'm going to give this a flex direction of column. Let me save it and a gap of 4. Now whenever I click on this button and select a file, I want the file name to appear here. How to do that? So let's create that functionality. So whenever I click on this button, it internally clicks on this HTML input and whenever a file is selected, a property, an event listener on change is triggered. So on change, we want to do something, so let's connect it with a function that we're going to create. Let's call that handle change. Above here we're going to, let me move this here, so we're going to create another arrow function, const handle change equals an arrow function. This is going to be a change event, so it's going to take an event of type react.change event. Me paste it here, me give this smaller name, oh sorry, paste it here, me give this a shorter name of fat arrow curly braces, me save it. So inside this handle change, what we are going to do is we're going to get access to the file that we selected. So how are we going to do that? We're going to create so the event that we're getting from here, it has a property named target, and that target further has a property of files. So the event.target.files is an array that contains the selected files or file. So we are going to access the first item in that array. We're going to store this in a constant in a variable. So we're going to store this in a variable named, let's name it file. And if the value inside the file, and if there is a file, and if we have selected a file, then what we are going to do, let's add this conditional. If file exists, file is not equal to null, what we are going to do is we're going to use the setup function set file. Going to set file name to file.name and save it. So now let's click on this button and select a file. So now let's check if this works or not. Let me click on this button, me select this file. As you can see, the name of the file has appeared here. That means we have selected a file successfully. Now let's style this file name a bit. Let me get this and put this inside a span, paste it here, and import an icon X from Lucid React, and style these text and this icon inside this white background container using flex item center, justify center, and a gap of 2, let's say 4. As you can see, this X icon has appeared here. Let me give this a gap of 2, and let's style this text and this icon separately, give them separate class names. I'm going to say text of extra small, and also give this a size of 4. That looks good. The button is now working fine, and we were able to add this file name upon selecting the file. But if I refresh this page, you can see an empty container with this X icon appears here. So we are going to render this thing conditionally. As you can see, if I comment this out, you can see this disappears. So we are going to render this thing conditionally, and the condition we are going to add here is if there is a file name, if the file name is selected, then and only then we are going to render this component. But if the file name is null, nothing would be shown here. So if I save this, as you can see, we have not selected any file, so that white background text container doesn't appear here. But if I select a file, let me click on this button, select the file again, you can see the file name has appeared now. But now we want to add the functionality if we want to deselect a file or select some other file. Now let's add the functionality of removing this file upon clicking on this X button. So let's do that. So on this X button, I'm going to add an event listener of on click, and we're going to connect it with a function. We're going to name it handle clear input, and let's create this function above. So const, it's going to take this event. So when we click on this X button, we're going to clear our state by setting file name to null, and after that we're going to check again if the upload input ref dot current, if it's not null, then we're going to erase its value. Whatever the file was selected inside this input, we're going to clear that. We're going to say upload input ref dot current dot value equals empty string. So we are getting some error here. Let me hover over this. This says react.mouse element void is not assignable to type. So let me remove this. We don't need this event here. Let me remove it. Let me save it. As you can see, the component is now working fine. Let's test it once again. Let me upload a file. Select this file. You can see the file name has appeared here. Let me click on this button. You can see the file has input field is being cleared and the state is being cleared. You can select another file, select the same file again. Now the upload button is working properly, and we are able to see the file name and remove the file if we want to upload some other file. That's it for this video. If you want me to make this component a reusable component so that you can use this in your projects, let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, please share, subscribe and like the video. Thank you.